Hey everyone, I am sitting down to do the functional setup in my planner for the month of February. So this is my everyday carry, and I did post a video that showed my setup process as far as making all of these dashboards, choosing the papers, how I trim them, how I jump band, all of that. So I'll link that video for you, but that's more of the pretty side of things, I guess, the decoration. I didn't really dive into the inserts or my process for moving those over and getting them ready for a new month. So I wanted to do that today. And I will tell you, for the decoration stuff in here, those videos are going to probably become less and less. I did cancel all of my Cocoa Daisy subscriptions. So this February kit that I have in here now is probably going to be the last full collection that I have, unless I just really fall in love with something and can pick it up when the shop opens for people that aren't subscribers. But I've been talking about this a lot, and I wanted to downsize and not accumulate so much stuff and save money. So that's one of the things that I said goodbye to for the time being. I might add subscriptions back at some point, but for the beginning here of 2023, that's just how things have gone for me. Okay, so the first thing I do functionally is kind of take a look at the Post-it notes I'm using, and I'm not changing any of those out. They're still functioning very well for me. I have some Memo ones, some plain ones, and some black ones just for fun with a white ink pen. And then in the back, I do have some appointment ones from Cloth and Paper. So if I make an appointment and I don't want to open up my calendar page in front of everyone, or if I don't want to take the time to write it down, I can just grab one of these and then transfer it later. And then I just go through basically insert by insert, and there's certain things that I do as part of that process every month. One of them is this habit tracker. This is just a habit tracker Post-it note from, I think, Post-it brand. And I am saving for the Erin Condren launch. I would like to have saved $150 by April 20th. And I actually have cash in here underneath that card, but I also have like some appointment cards that I don't want to show you for privacy reasons. Like this one I turned upside down. It's an appointment card for my son's dentist appointment. So I have $20 in here so far. Each little check mark is $10, and I have $20 more to add to that. So I'm just going to mark my next two checks off there and then just slip this in. And this is what I used to do when I was buying an Erin Condren planner, or any planner really, when money was really tight, but I knew for sure I wanted to use a planner for the whole year. I would just save up little bits here and there so that when they launched, I would be ready financially to pay for those. And then I'll go into my monthly insert, and this is an inbox pencil board page marker that I made. I have a reel up on this over on my Instagram channel, Happy Place Planning. I have these functional sticky notes. They're transparent, and you'll see those in use when we get back to some of my other inserts. I have these little matchstick page markers in case I need to mark specific pages in my planner. And then I am selling some of my Cocoa Daisy stuff, so I have this running list here on a Post-it note. This was a drink order from some of my friends, so I can throw that away. And then my mom owed me some money for some stuff that I picked up at the store for her. and my mother-in-law. So I just have note of that. And once my mom pays me, I'll rip that off and throw it away. But just notes that don't need to be in my notes section for the long run of 2023 go on Post-it notes. If it's something that I'm going to reference frequently, I'll go ahead and put it on the insert. So that's kind of that process. The other thing is I highlight the current week here on this sidebar. This insert is from Traveler's Company. I got it on jet pens. This is my Portland Leather Goods pin pouch that I absolutely love. And inside I have just a few of the writing utensils that I use frequently. And again, in the mindset of using what I have, I really wanted to try out Tombow markers. I've never had them before, and just to do some highlighting. And when I cleaned my craft room, I found these calligraph markers from Archer and Olive, and I have 3 colors here, a light blue, kind of a peachy color, and a gray, and that's what I have been using in here. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this first week here so that I'm ready to go. And since we're moving into February, you can see that current month is shaded on here, and I'm going to highlight the first week there. It's the little things like that that I've really been enjoying in this setup, just so I can see in the broad scope of things where we are at in the year. Now, I have already went through anytime there's an appointment made, or like I got a text message this morning about picture day for basketball, I add that to my monthly calendar. And things that are outside of the norm go on here. So I'm not going to put church every Sunday because I know that and I'm not going to forget it. But anything like that. And then for my sorority, I always put my sorority sisters' birthdays down here, and I make note of who the hostess is for the month. I'm kind of in charge of group texting, and so I want to make sure I have those reminders ready to send out. And you can see I have some notes made for February already, and I know we're going to have basketball games on these days, but I don't know the times yet. So once that schedule comes out with specific times, I'll add them to the calendar boxes. So really, I don't need to update anything on these pages right at the moment, but I do always like to just sit down and glance and make sure I have all of those little things done. And I already have my husband's on-call schedule marked, so that would be important as well. And then that's the first insert. So my brain kind of works in the grand scheme of things, large picture, which would be monthly, and then funnels down to weekly and then to daily. So this next insert is my weekly insert. And just for this one, because I do use a ruler, I take it out of my notebook to update that. So I'm going to slide this over for just a minute, and we can flip through here. I did add this from Ellie and Grace. I'm looking for something to put in these kind of placeholders on the Traveler Company main cover page here. So if you have ideas, let me know. And then this is where some of those functional sticky notes come in handy. I've been waiting to do this. So once the month is over, I'll use a dark black transparent. It's not really transparent, but I guess it is because of the material. And then I'll use the light gray for the current month in this insert. And you can still kind of see through that, and I don't mind that it's darker. And that just, again, visually shows me where I am at in the year. And then on this page, I'm using this to keep track of one of my goals. So I set some limits for myself this year with my traveler's notebook. One of those is being that I don't want to purchase more than 6 new covers. And even that is probably more than I should allow myself. but that's the goal that I set for myself. And then I also want to stay in that monthly insert for all of 2023 and all of this insert for January through June, because it is a 6-month insert. And every day that I stay within those limits, I give myself a check mark. And I like seeing that progress there. It's satisfying. And then this insert started on December 19th. This was my first time using this specific insert, so you'll see as I flip through these pages that some of the side page over here, the graph page, has changed a little bit. The one thing I do love is that I split this section into 2. Timed appointments go on the left, day specific to do items go on the right. And then like this was my husband was on call. This was some medical information, which you'll see everything kind of color codes together. So I am going to assume that I had a migraine that day because that's what the navy blue sticker means. And then this is my cycle that started. I can go ahead and take this off. I had like this was when I didn't have a daily insert in my notebook. And we'll talk about that when I get to that section. But when I didn't have a daily insert and I had something very specific, a long list, I would just put it on a Post-it note, but that can go away. And I have to contact and errands, my habits, high and low heart rate, my zone cleaning. And then I was using this for like a tracker of orders that I had placed. This one's pretty similar. These are mild liners, and the ink pens that I'm using are this Uniball Signo DX 0.38. That's the ink pen that you see here on this insert. And then in some of my other inserts, I use this Friction erasable multi-pen, usually this gray color. And then we have another week. I was sick here and my son was sick. My husband was back on call. I made a big mistake doing something. I think I was trying to draw a tracker, so I just covered it up with some stickers. And then this was last week. I saw someone on Instagram. It was actually a Hobonichi Weeks user. And I kind of giggle about like the rave of the Hobonichi Weeks this year that I keep seeing, because this horizontal across from a grid has been around forever and ever. However, I will say this, now that a lot of people are in the Hobonichi Weeks, which is a very similar layout to this, like this idea of making a column to check things off, I took from someone that was using a Hobonichi Week. So it is also nice because then I can get some inspiration. And then this is the current week, and I did go ahead and do my columns for checking things off, and I stamped with the Cocoa Daisy stamp, and I hate it. I'm not a stamper, and there's a reason why, and it took forever to dry, even with blotting paper. Do not have the patience for that at all. And then it's still shadowed pretty heavily. So that is going to be a no-go, but live and learn, right? So you can see I have the week highlighted up here, and typically I go through and check mark off when the day is done on this insert as well. And this next week will be February, so I need to get this stuff set up. And the reason I do it here at home is because for this specific purpose of the weekly planning is that I like to have my ruler out on a hard surface, not necessarily just holding my traveler's notebook in my lap like I typically do, and get those lines drawn in. So this actually has a line for you, a little marker that shows you the middle of the page, which is super helpful. And I just use my regular Signo ink pen here, draw in the first line, and then you can kind of see the shadow from the previous page, and then draw in my second line, and that's where I put my bullet points for my to-do list. And then this is where my little brush markers come in, I really have been liking this blue color. It's very subtle, but I line up the same little sections, and then I just handwrite on there to do contact and errands. And the reason I like to have this stuff separated out instead of just in one big to-do list is because, let's just say I have time to sit down at my desk and make phone calls. I'm going to call everyone on my list. That way I don't have to make time to do that, several days in a row. Same thing with errands. If I have time to go run errands around town, I'm probably going to go 5 or 6 places, and I don't want to have to search through a big to-do list to find out what those are. And then I do want to draw in my lines for this column as well. We'll go with the edge here, the first graph line, and then we'll do just one. So basically just one graph line, one column per se. Okay, so have that done, and I'm going to repeat the process for at least that part for the next few weeks. For all of February, I won't necessarily fill in this section because that kind of changes based on my need for the week. Okay, so that's set up. That's all that I do in my weekly insert. And I can put that back in here in my dashboard. The nice thing about having these plastic dashboards in here from the Chic Sparrow is that they hold your place. Otherwise, this elastic would fall down in between all the notebooks, and it's kind of a pain to dig it out. This way, it's right here on the actual dashboard. And you can put your insert back on. Super easy. And then I do use an ollie clip on this page to my current week, so that when I open this one up, it's going right to the current week. So that's the current week and how I prep my weekly pages. And then we're going to dive down deeper into daily planning. So what I did for this was I printed the CreffectivePaper cleaning tracker, which has your whole month on one page. And you have your daily task, weekly, and monthly tasks. So I printed one of those. And then on the back of that, I started printing the daily inserts, and then printed a bunch of the daily inserts, enough for the whole month, and put those in here. So let me just show you. We can talk a little bit about this. These are my daily tasks that I like to do around the house. So it's just a matter of me writing in the tasks. I like to have my kitchen clean, dishes put away every night, make the beds every morning. This I've been struggling with. I need to go back because I did do it a few days in January. I started a journal back and forth with my son. So that's my daily tasks for weekly. If you watch my Erin Condren Plan with me's, I write these out every week in my Erin Condren planner. I empty the fridge of leftovers and do those dishes, which means then I take the trash out to the big trash can for my husband. I like to wash and fuel my car, vacuum the house, clean the bathrooms, place a Walmart order, and pick up for my son's lunch items. And then these monthly tasks I have housed in my Erin Condren notes section. So for January, these were the tasks that I needed to get done. So I do have February's printed the same way. This is my Planner Kate on the Go album, and I went ahead, obviously it has stickers in it, but I also did that same thing, printed out the cleaning tracker and the dailies, enough for February. I did wrap it in some vellum that I thought would go well and just tape that to the back because it wasn't large enough to go across the whole width of both sides. So if I'm not at home, I always have this with me, and then this is usually in my tote bag. So if we switch over to February, it's, one of the things with traveler's notebooks, unlike rings, I can't just take out the first half of January and put it in the second or the first half of February. So I'm really trying to stick with one of these so I can archive them at the end of the month. So all of January would be in one book, and then obviously all of February and so forth. So I have that ready and waiting. Let's look at what the daily insert looks like. I do, again, use an ollie clip. I found, I was going to tell you guys. So I actually had a journaling book in here, and I didn't have my daily planner like I mentioned when I was talking about the post-it notes on the weekly. I was really missing a daily, and it's just too much in my opinion. I don't like super chunky planners to have my journal and my daily. So one of those two things had to go, and all I did was take out the insert and put it in a separate traveler's notebook with my commonplace book. So now my journaling and my commonplace book are in one TN, and then my daily plans are in this one, which just makes sense for my brain. So I do go through and write the dates on here. I did that for all of January, and I did print just a little bit extra. So at the end of the month, if I need, if it's like, let's say the 25th, and I already know something for February 1st, I have a blank page that I could put that on, and then when I transfer to my February daily insert, I can just rewrite those things, but typically that's not that big of a deal. So let me show you a blank page. It's a day on one page. You have room for your date, your top 3 priorities, a schedule, a to-do, and then a note section. And that's exactly how I have been using it. So I printed it off here around the 20th and started playing around, and have been pretty consistent for the few weeks. But one of the other kind of rules that I set for myself is that on daily pages, if there is a day that I don't need a daily page, I can just skip the page. I can leave it blank. I don't want to pressure myself into feeling like I need to go back and fill that day out after it's already happened. So that's been working out really well for me in the daily planning aspect. So let me just go ahead and put this back. So I'm all set for the rest of January and February. And then most of the time what happens, to be honest with you, is I sit down in the recliner, this goes on my lap, and then I kind of start thinking about the next day of plans and jotting those down. And on this paper, I'm still using the Uniball Signo DX on this insert. I also switched my paper. This is a printable that I printed on my printer and cut here at home. I was using like 32-pound paper, which is really luxurious and thick paper. And for some reason, my brain wanted to go back to this, like, I think it's 24-pound paper. I'll link both of them in the description for you. I get it on Amazon, but it does reduce the bulk of the insert. It's easier to cut, and it just feels different in your hand. And I have been wanting this thin paper. So that's the daily section. And then we'll do social media next. Is that right? Nope, I lied. I kind of mixed these around. So this is my month at a glance section. So this is my color coding for our school schedule. This is from CreffectivePaper. Again, I use Planner Kate colored dots. This is the key in case I would happen to forget, and those stickers are right here in my front pocket. So I always have them with me if I need to make a change. And I just have mapped out here the rest of the school year. And then you turn the page. So I printed their year at a glance. And then on the back of that paper, I printed their 100 bucket list. So the back of that insert, you get another year at a glance and the second half of your 100 bucket list. And then in the middle of that, I printed out just January through December on their month on one page and put that inside of those inserts. So it does make one book, and I think it flows really nicely, which again can be hard in a traveler's notebook because everything, it's not just insert a page, it's reversed how, I have the back half of that insert at the back. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. So I sit down, and this is where I use my friction pen, which is erasable. So if any of these things I want to change, I can do that, which I've been really enjoying. So I started my bucket list. Some of them are like goals, some of them are fun things. And yeah, I just have a running list. And then if there's anything from that list that we could do within the month, I kind of list it over here on this checklist. And anything else extra that I want to do, like I want to take my son to the little theater this month. Basketball started. Bought new curtains for the family room, any of those things. I went through my subscriptions, which I'll show you here in a bit. And then these are my top 3 tasks. And what I was doing was, this was before I had printed this tracker. So I might just track it here now and repurpose this space. But what I was doing was I wanted to do those 3 things. And on the days that I did all 3 of those, I gave myself a check mark. So again, that might change since I have the new cleaning tracker. And then this is my daily gratitude. So at the end of the day, I just pick something big or small that I'm thankful for and write it down. And so that will be the plan for this February. I need to sit down, maybe think about a repurpose for these and get items pulled from my bucket list down from my checklist. And then this will be obviously for gratitude. So I have the rest of 2023 in here, the second half of my 100 bucket list. And then on this side of the year at a glance is my husband's on-call schedule. So different things, different colors mean different things. I don't need a key for that because it's just the 3 colors and I know what they mean. But I have all of those down for the rest of 2023. And then the next section is my social media insert. So this is my social media insert. I think this is from Planner Room Shop. I will link that in the description for you as well. But it doesn't have her handle on it anywhere, so I'm not for sure. I keep Post-it notes for inserts and links and ideas that I have on Post-it notes, and then just throw those away when I don't need them. This was actually December, so I kind of back planned But what I do is I write down the day that I post the video. I check how many views it had after it was posted for 2 weeks. And then I go back and put down how many views the video had after it had been live for a month. So let's look at January, and I'll show you kind of how I set this up. I do put these date dots from Planner Kate on the calendar just so I kind of have a good view of the month on calendar form. Again, those stickers are in here, so they're always with me. I have this covered. I'll show you a blank one. So on this side, I keep any income that I make for my social channels here. My YouTube did monetize. And then people have been talking about Instagram. That's a whole nother conversation, like subscriptions and stuff. I haven't set that up, but that's neither here nor there. So I just keep track of any income that I would need to note for taxes at the end of the year here. And then over here, I keep a list of collaborations that I've agreed to do. So for January, I had some like Erin Condren, the February Valentine's collaboration with Etta V. So just so I know that I'm fulfilling my commitments, anything that I agree to post or review, I put down here on collaborations. And then this area just kind of has, sometimes I'll sit down and film a video, but not know for sure when I want to post it. So it'll just be sitting in my YouTube waiting for me to schedule it, and I'll list those down here. So yeah, I have a cloth and paper one that's sitting out there. I'm filming this. No, I posted that one, so I can check that one off. It was my process video that I talked about for the decorations. I do want to film a PK apparel. When that arrives, I need to film jet pens, and I filmed this PK notebook actually, so I just need to get that scheduled. And then these are the same transparent flags that come off of this inbox that I showed you. And this keeps track of where we are at in the month. So I know for the 2-week mark and the 1 week or the 1 month mark. So I think we are here. I need to move this. So every week I sit down. This is the current week. So I go ahead and put that down there. And then that means these videos would have posted 2 weeks ago. And that means I can go back and check my views and get them written down in this first column. So that's how I'm using the social media tracker. And then that's it for this little insert. And then I have my tracker section. I have it labeled as tracker anyway. And this is where I track all of my health information and my son's health information. So I printed out that Creffective paper, year at a glance again. This time I printed it just one-sided. So the front of this insert is blank, which then means the other half of that insert is in the back of this book. And this is for my son's health. So they kind of mirror each other. I use the same information. He doesn't really have migraines, but he's been sick, so I wrote those down or marked them, I guess, with the Planner Kate stickers. And then for his, I make notes over here on a Post-it note. And then for mine, I know obviously what had happened. So that's a migraines, med changes. If I take an Imitrex, I use the open circle to mark those. And I had a stomach bug the same time my son did. So that's how January's starting out for us. But everything medical goes here. This has been a lifesaver because when I go to the doctor, I have this with me and I can easily answer all their questions about when I had my last period, when I was sick, when I changed my meds, all of that. And then this is a custom insert from CreffectivePaper. She was wonderful to work with. I highly suggest her shop. She has ring items and obviously traveler's notebook, a variety of sizes. I literally kind of sketched out with an ink pen what I wanted, and she turned it into this beautiful insert for me. So I am tracking a whole month at a time of my migraines, and I'm trying to figure out if there are certain triggers. So the top row here, I track if I have a migraine, and again, the color coding matches. So on the 3rd, I had a migraine. I marked that in blue. That's also going to be marked on this one, okay? Took an Imitrex, that's circled, and I took my Imitrex in the AM. I don't know if you can see that there is an A under there. The next day I had a migraine. The pain level was only a 1, and I did take an Imitrex in the PM. And then, yeah, I didn't have migraines the other day, so I just put X's. Then I decided I wanted to track the moon. So it was a full moon on Friday the 6th. And then you can see the next week it started waning or waxing, one of the two, getting smaller until we hit the new moon. I'm also tracking the barometric pressure every day, how many hours of sleep I got, and my cycle, which coordinates with med changes. And yeah, so I like this because I can see all of January. I went through and labeled with the dates here, just with my ink pen. On this insert, I am using my friction pen, so if I mess up, I can erase it. And then there's room in the margin to make notes, like I had to for a couple of days when I had some different things going on. So this is all of January. And then because of how a traveler's notebook, the inserts are, I wanted them all facing the same direction for January. So when you turn your page, they're going the opposite direction, but that's fine because then it's like this. This is all of February. So what I need to do is go through and just put my dates in. I won't do that on camera, but I'll sit here afterwards and get all of those dates for February, so I'm all ready to go. And then again, as I showed you, the end of that insert is just my son's health information. Then we jump into my last insert, which is my notes. So this insert is again from the Travelers Company. I need to find something to put in here or label it, but it houses all the things. So I do have an index and I do number my pages. This first one has my passwords, which I have covered up. And then I had a waiting on list, which is kind of like the getting things done method. If I did my part, but I'm waiting on someone else to do something, sometimes it slips my mind that I'm waiting for that person. So that's what that is. I just have some content stuff, a list of gifts I wanted to get, snacks for my son and myself. Anything that like this that I would refer to throughout the year gets put in here. If it's something temporary, I put it on those post-it notes on my inbox like I showed you at the beginning. I'm going to skip the next couple pages. I did sit down and list every subscription that I had coming out of our account. Netflix, CocoDaisy, Hulu, all of those things. And I canceled a bunch. And I'm talking like over $250 worth of stuff. So I feel really good about that. But I wanted to share that with you guys. I have some Planner Kate info, some books I want to read. Here's a list I can show you. I have a whole page just dedicated to my sorority. So upcoming dates, if we're at a meeting and we say, hey, on the 14th, there's going to be a blood drive, I'll write that down. Same thing with our PTO. I have one for home. I wanted new curtains to be in between these dimensions and length. And I wanted this with me when I'm shopping, so I didn't forget. Anything else for home will go on that page. Planner reference, just if I'm, this insert for a standard TN is 12 by 22 centimeters, that sort of thing. I'm in the treasurer for our church, so I have a list of things I want to talk to the board about for January here. I have a list of national parks that I want to go see. So you get the idea. Pen testing, anything that I'm going to reference, it's going to go in this notebook. And then that is the end of the setup, other than those post-it notes I showed you and some Cocoa Daisy scratch paper that I have. And then this planner does have the big back pocket. So I have like my son's Taekwondo schedule in here. Any papers that I need will fold in half and fit nicely in this standard traveler's notebook. So that's kind of my process for sitting down and looking at things for the next month as far as a functional standpoint and the stuff that I use to set it up. To me, that's more important than the decorations anyway. And I had already gotten some questions about what inserts I use and how I use them. So I wanted to go over all of that with you guys. I do foresee me doing more of these types of plan with me's where I sit down and update my inserts rather than the decorative portion in the future for 2023. It's just been a mind shift for me, I guess. And if I update any of these dashboards from my stash, I can definitely share that with you guys as well. I'm interested to hear from you guys. Do you like both sorts of videos where we talk about how we set up the decoration, or do you like this functional dive deep into the inserts and maybe a plan with me in this notebook? Let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you guys being here and watching, and I'll see you back on my next video.